The arrival. The vast expanse of space had long been silent, its depths hiding secrets unknown to the fledgling human race. Humanity, having just taken its first tentative steps beyond the cradle of Earth, remained blissfully unaware of the ancient empires that spanned the galaxy. But on this day, that innocence would be shattered forever. Admiral Zarak stood on the bridge of the Dominion's flagship, the Eternal Claw. His scaled skin glistened under the harsh light of the command center. 4 yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of a blue-green planet. Earth, he growled, the word unfamiliar on his forked tongue. Such a pitiful name for our next conquest. The Zarkan Empire had reigned supreme for millennia, their biology and technology evolving in tandem to create the perfect predators. Standing at an average of 8 feet tall, with dense musculature and natural armor plating, they were built for war. Their history was written in the blood of 1,000 species, each one falling before the unstoppable might of the Zarkan war machine. Admiral, a subordinate approached, bowing low. The scout ships have returned. The humans appear to be a pre-FTL civilization. Their defenses are primitive. Zarak's lips curled into what passed for a smile among his kind. Excellent. Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll begin with their military installations. I want their ability to resist crushed within the first solar rotation. As the Zarkan Armada prepared for their assault, life on Earth continued in blissful ignorance. In New York City, Sarah Chen hurried through the crowded streets, her mind focused on the upcoming UN Security Council meeting. As the newly appointed head of Earth's fledgling United Defense Initiative, she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. The UDI had been formed in response to humanity's first ventures into the solar system. With colonies on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt, Earth's nations had realized the need for a unified approach to space exploration and defense. But their preparations were woefully inadequate for the storm that was about to break upon them. Sarah's phone buzzed insistently. Frowning, she answered the call. Chen here. Ma'am, you need to get to the command center immediately. The voice of her aide, Jack, was tense with barely contained panic. We're picking up massive energy signatures in orbit. It's not one of ours. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Sarah's steps faltered, her mind reeling from the implications. I'm on my way. Alert the Security Council and initiate Protocol Omega. This is not a drill. As Sarah raced towards the UDI's hidden command center beneath the streets of New York, the first wave of Zarkan ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Their stealth technology rendered them invisible to conventional radar, allowing them to approach their targets unopposed. In Washington, D.C., General Michael Harper was in the middle of a budget meeting when the first reports came in. Klaxons blared throughout the Pentagon as confused officials scrambled to make sense of the incoming data. Sir, a young lieutenant burst into the room, face pale. We're under attack. Unknown aircraft have appeared over multiple military bases. They're destroying everything. Harper's years of training kicked in, pushing aside the shock and disbelief. Sound the general alarm. I want every available aircraft in the sky and all missile defenses online. Get me the president. But it was already too late. The Zarkan assault was swift and merciless. Advanced energy weapons tore through Earth's most hardened military installations like paper. Missiles launched in desperation were swatted from the sky by point defense systems centuries beyond human technology. In orbit, Admiral Zarak watched the carnage with cold satisfaction. Pathetic, he muttered. I expected more of a challenge from the species that managed to leave their own planet. A subordinate approached, mandibles clicking nervously. Admiral, we're detecting increased communications activity across the planet. It seems they're attempting to coordinate a response. Zarak's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Perhaps they're not entirely without spine. No matter. Proceed with Phase 2. Target their major population centers. Let's see how quickly they break. As night fell across the Americas, The residents of Earth's great cities looked up to see their skies filled with fire. The Zarkin ships, now visible, cast ominous shadows over streets filled with panicked civilians. In the UDI command center, Sarah Chen fought to maintain order amidst the chaos. Holographic displays showed the rapid advance of the alien forces, each passing minute bringing news of another fallen defense. "We need to buy time," she shouted over the din of frantic activity. "Get me in contact with every major world leader. We need to coordinate our remaining forces." Jack, his young face etched with fear, nodded grimly. "Yes, Mom. But what can we do against this kind of technology?" Sarah's eyes hardened with determination. "We do what humanity has always done, Jack. We adapt, we survive, and then we fight back." As the hours ticked by, the true scale of the Zarkin invasion became clear. Earth's military forces, despite valiant resistance, were being systematically decimated. Conventional weapons proved nearly useless against the invaders' advanced shielding technology. In London, Prime Minister Eleanor Hughes stood before a hastily assembled emergency session of Parliament. Her voice, normally confident and assured, trembled slightly as she addressed the grim-faced MPs. "My fellow Britons, today we face a threat unlike any in human history. An alien force of unimaginable power has begun an unprovoked assault on our world. But I stand before you now to say this: we will not go quietly into the night. Humanity will not surrender its home without a fight." Similar scenes played out in capitals across the globe as world leaders rallied their people for the battle to come. Ancient rivalries were set aside in the face of extinction, a unified human resistance beginning to take shape. In Moscow, President Nikolai Volkov authorized the use of Russia's nuclear arsenal, a decision mirrored by other nuclear powers. But even this, humanity's most terrible weapon, proved ineffective. The Zarkin ships absorbed the atomic fire, their shields flaring bright but holding firm. Admiral Zirak allowed himself a moment of surprise. "Impressive," he mused. "They're more resourceful than I gave them credit for. Still, it changes nothing." As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, nearly 70% of Earth's military capacity had been neutralized. Major cities lay in ruins, millions dead or displaced. But pockets of resistance remained, and the human spirit, tempered by millennia of adversity, refused to break. In the smoldering ruins of Beijing, a group of Chinese soldiers led by Captain Lai Wei mounted a daring raid on a landed Zarkin shuttle. Against all odds, they managed to capture the craft, along with a wounded alien warrior. "Send word to command," Lai shouted as his men secured their prize. "We have something they're going to want to see." News of the captured alien and technology spread like wildfire through the remaining human forces. For the first time since the invasion began, a glimmer of hope emerged. If they could understand the enemy's technology, perhaps they could find a weakness. As dawn broke on the second day of the invasion, humanity stood on the brink. The Zarkin victory seemed all but assured, their forces pushing forward on all fronts. But in hidden bunkers and secret laboratories around the world, the best minds of Earth were already at work, seeking a way to turn the tide. Sarah Chen, her eyes red from exhaustion, stared at the reports coming in from around the globe. Despite the overwhelming odds, pockets of resistance were holding out. The Zarkin advance, while devastating, had begun to slow. "They've never faced anything like us before," she murmured, a plan beginning to form in her mind. And that might just be our salvation. As the Zarkin prepared for what they believed would be the final push to victory, they remained unaware of the storm that was brewing. Humanity, with its back against the wall, was about to remind the galaxy why it should never be underestimated. The stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate not just of Earth, but of the entire galaxy. The war for survival had only just begun. First contact. The dawn of the third day since the Zarkin invasion broke over a changed Earth. Smoke from burning cities blotted out the sun in many regions, casting an apocalyptic pall over the embattled planet. Yet amidst the destruction, The indomitable human spirit refused to be extinguished. In the depths of the Rocky Mountains, a secret facility bustled with frantic activity. Here, in a bunker designed to withstand even nuclear attack, the captured Zarkin shuttle had been brought for study. Dr. Eliza Reyes, a brilliant xenobiologist, stood before the alien craft, her dark eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. "It's incredible," she breathed, running a hand along the shuttle's smooth metallic surface. "The molecular structure of this alloy, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." Beside her, Major Tom Hawkins of U.S. Special Forces watched with barely concealed impatience. "That's great, Doc, but can you tell us how to blow it up?" Eliza shot him a withering look. "Major, we're not going to win this war by simply blowing things up. We need to understand our enemy, find their weaknesses." As if on cue, an alarm blared through the facility. "Perimeter breach," a voice shouted over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations." Outside, a Zarkin strike team had located the hidden base. Led by Commander Krazak, a decorated veteran of 100 conquered worlds, they moved with deadly precision towards their objective. "Remember," Krazak growled to his troops, "the humans have one of our shuttles. Recover or destroy it at all costs." The battle that ensued was brutal and swift. Human defenders, armed with conventional weapons, fought valiantly but were quickly overwhelmed by the Zarkin's superior technology and physical prowess. Inside the bunker, Eliza worked feverishly to download as much data as possible from the alien shuttle. "We can't let them take this," she shouted to Hawkins over the sound of distant explosions. The Major nodded grimly, priming a set of explosives. "They won't. But we need to get you and that data out of here." As Krazak's forces breached the inner defenses, Hawkins made a fateful decision. "Doc, take this," he said, handing Eliza a small, nondescript USB drive. "It's got a direct line to UDI command. Get to the emergency exit, and don't look back." Eliza's eyes widened in realization. "But you. Someone's got to slow them down." Hawkins grinned, hefting his rifle. "Now go. That's an order." With tears in her eyes, Eliza fled towards the escape tunnel. Behind her, she heard the staccato of gunfire and the otherworldly screech of Zarkin energy weapons. Hawkins, for his part, put up a heroic last stand. His years of special ops training allowed him to hold off the alien advance far longer than should have been possible. In the end, it was Krazak himself who cornered the Major. "Impressive, human," the Zarkin commander hissed, looming over the wounded Hawkins. "You fight well, for prey." Hawkins, bleeding from multiple wounds, managed a defiant smirk. "We're full of surprises." With his last ounce of strength, he triggered the explosives. The resulting detonation collapsed a significant portion of the facility, burying the alien shuttle and a good number of Zarkin troops under tons of rock. Krazak, shielded by his personal force field, survived but was left seething with rage. Meanwhile, in New Delhi, the leaders of Earth's remaining military forces had gathered for an emergency summit. The captured Zarkin warrior, heavily sedated and restrained, had been brought for examination. Sarah Chen, representing the UDI, addressed the grim-faced assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I won't sugarcoat this. We're losing this war. But thanks to the bravery of soldiers like Captain Lei and his team, we now have a chance to turn the tide." She gestured to a team of scientists who were cautiously approaching the alien. "If we can understand their biology, their technology, we might find a weakness we can exploit." As the examination proceeded, a startling discovery was made. Dr. Amit Patel, a renowned geneticist, stared at his readings in disbelief. This can't be right," he muttered. "What is it, Doctor?" Sarah pressed, sensing the importance of the moment. Patel looked up, his face pale. "The Zarkin, they're not entirely alien. There are segments of their DNA that bear a striking similarity to Earth life. It's as if they've incorporated genetic material from countless species into their own genome." The implications were staggering. The Zarkan weren't just conquerors. They were genetic parasites, augmenting their own biology with traits stolen from the species they subjugated. Before the assembled leaders could fully process this information, alarms began to blare. The sedated Zarkan warrior, thought to be securely restrained, had begun to stir. With a roar that shook the very foundations of the building, the alien broke free of its bonds. In the chaos that followed, it managed to access a communication terminal, sending a brief but powerful signal into space before it was finally subdued. Admiral Zorak, orbiting high above in the Eternal Claw, received the transmission with growing fury. "So," he snarled, "the humans think they can dissect us like common animals. It's time we showed them the true might of the Zarkan Empire." As Earth's leaders scrambled to evacuate the compromised facility, the sky above New Delhi lit up with the arrival of a massive Zarkan battleship. Its weapons, capable of reducing entire cities to ash, were primed and ready. In orbit, Zerat gave the order without hesitation. "Obliterate them. Let this be a lesson to all who would dare to stand against us." The attack on New Delhi was swift and merciless. Energy beams of unimaginable power lanced down from the heavens, turning the ancient city into a sea of fire. Millions of lives were snuffed out in an instant, the death toll eclipsing even the worst disasters in human history. As news of the devastation spread, a pall of despair settled over the human resistance. How could they hope to stand against an enemy capable of such destruction? Yet even in this darkest hour, sparks of hope remained. Eliza Reyes, having escaped the fallen Rocky Mountain facility, arrived at the UDI's backup command center with the precious data from the Zarkan shuttle. "We've got something," she announced to the haggard staff. "Their ships, their weapons, they all operate on a quantum entanglement principle we've only theorized about. If we can disrupt that entanglement." Sarah Chen, her face drawn with exhaustion and grief, felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. "Then we might have a chance of fighting back," she finished. As humanity reeled from the loss of New Delhi, teams of scientists and engineers around the world began working around the clock, seeking to turn Eliza's discovery into a weapon that could challenge the Zarkan. In orbit, Admiral Zerak surveyed the burning remnants of New Delhi with cold satisfaction. "Let the humans cower in fear," he declared to his officers. "Soon, they will accept their place as our subjects, or join the countless species we've consigned to extinction." But even as the admiral gloated, the seeds of resistance were taking root. In hidden bunkers and makeshift labs, in the ruins of fallen cities and the depths of uncharted wildernesses, humanity prepared for a counterattack. The Zarkan had made a critical error. In their arrogance, they had assumed that humanity, like so many species before, would break under the weight of their assault. They had failed to understand the unique resilience of the human spirit, forged over millennia of struggle and adaptation. As the first week of the invasion drew to a close, the stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate of Earth, and though they didn't know it yet, the entire galaxy. The Zarkan, confident in their impending victory, were about to learn a harsh lesson. Humanity, when pushed to the brink, was capable of feats that defied the very laws of nature. The war for Earth was far from over. In fact, it was about to enter a new, unexpected phase, one that would shake the foundations of the Zarkan Empire and redefine the balance of power in the cosmos. As night fell over the battered planet, both humans and Zarkan prepared for what was to come. Neither side could have predicted the earth-shattering events that lay just over the horizon, events that would forever change the course of galactic history, adaptation, and innovation. The weeks following the destruction of New Delhi were marked by a tense stalemate. The Zarkan, confident in their superiority, had slowed their advance, content to consolidate their hold on conquered territories. This lull in the fighting provided humanity with a precious opportunity, a chance to regroup, to innovate, and to prepare for a counteroffensive that would shock their alien oppressors. In a repurposed missile silo deep beneath the Kansas prairie, Dr. Eliza Rice stood before a gathering of the world's brightest minds. The cavernous space hummed with the energy of desperate innovation, banks of hastily assembled supercomputers lining the walls. "Ladies and gentlemen," Eliza began, her voice echoing in the underground chamber, "what we're attempting here has never been done before. We're not just pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, we're shattering them." She gestured to a holographic display of a Zarkan battleship. "Thanks to the data we recovered, we now understand the principles behind their quantum entanglement technology. The challenge now is to develop a way to disrupt it." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned quantum physicist, stepped forward. "We've been working on a prototype," she said, bringing up a schematic of a sleek, almost organic-looking device. "We're calling it the quantum disruptor. In theory, it should be able to create a localized field that severs the entanglement their tech relies on." A murmur of excitement rippled through the assembled scientists. If the quantum disruptor worked, it could level the playing field against the Zarkan's advanced weaponry. But theory and practice were two very different things. As the days wore on, test after test ended in failure. The quantum disruptor proved maddeningly inconsistent, working perfectly in some trials only to fail spectacularly in others. Frustration mounted as precious time slipped away. The Zarkan wouldn't remain idle forever, and humanity needed a breakthrough. That breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Amadou Diallo, a Senegalese bioengineer, had been studying the genetic samples taken from the captured Zarkan warrior. What he discovered would change everything. "It's not just their technology that relies on quantum principles," Amadou explained to a rapt audience. "Their very biology is quantum entangled. It's how they've been able to incorporate traits from other species so effectively." Elisa's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "So if we could disrupt that entanglement, we could potentially neutralize their biological advantages," Amadou finished with a nod. This revelation sparked a frenzy of activity. The Quantum Disruptor Project was quickly adapted to target not just Zarkan technology, but their unique biology as well. Meanwhile, on the front lines, humanity's defenders were adopting guerrilla tactics to slow the Zarkan advance. Captain Lai Wei, now a colonel, led daring raids against alien supply lines. His experiences with the captured shuttle had given him insights into Zarkan tactics and weaknesses. In the ruins of Paris, resistance fighters led by former fashion designer turned guerrilla leader Zhou Dubois used the city's ancient catacombs to stage hit-and-run attacks. Their intimate knowledge of the urban terrain allowed them to inflict surprising casualties on the occupying forces. These small victories, while not enough to turn the tide of the war, kept hope alive and bought precious time for the scientists working on the quantum disruptor. High above the Earth, Admiral Zarak grew increasingly frustrated with the human resistance. What should have been a quick conquest had turned into a protracted conflict. He summoned his top lieutenant, Krazak, to the bridge of the Eternal Claw. "These humans are proving more troublesome than anticipated," Zarak growled. "It's time we reminded them of the futility of their resistance. Prepare the Worldbreaker." Krazak's eyes widened. The Worldbreaker was the Zarkan's ultimate weapon, capable of shattering a planet's crust. Its use was reserved only for the most stubborn of conquests. "Are you certain, Admiral? The humans' homeworld is rich in resources. Using the Worldbreaker would render much of it uninhabitable." Zarak's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Are you questioning my orders, Commander?" Krazak bowed his head submissively. "No, Admiral. I'll begin preparations immediately." As the Zarkan prepared their doomsday weapon, Earth's defenders raced against time. The Quantum Disruptor Project had made significant strides, but it was still untested in actual combat conditions. Sarah Chen, coordinating the global resistance from a mobile command center, received word of the Zarkan's ominous movements. "We're picking up massive energy readings from their flagship," her aide reported. "Whatever they're planning, it's big." Sarah's face hardened. "Contact Dr. Reyes. Tell her we're out of time. The quantum disruptor needs to be ready now, tested or not." In the Kansas facility, Eliza received the message with a mixture of dread and determination. "All right, People, she addressed her team. This is it. No more simulations, no more tests. We're taking this show on the road. The prototype quantum disruptor, a device no larger than a backpack, was quickly loaded onto a stealth aircraft. A team of volunteers, led by Major Elena Rodriguez, prepared to deliver it to the front lines. As the aircraft took off under the cover of darkness, Elisa felt a weight settle in her stomach. The fate of humanity now rested on this untested device and the bravery of those carrying it. Across the globe, resistance leaders were mobilizing for what could be humanity's last stand. Colonel Li Wei's forces in Asia, Zhou Dubois' urban guerrillas in Europe, and countless other groups prepared to launch coordinated attacks on Zarkin positions. The plan was audacious and desperate in equal measure. While the bulk of Earth's remaining military forces engaged the Zarkin in a massive diversionary attack, Elena's team would attempt to infiltrate the alien command structure and deploy the quantum disruptor at the heart of their operations. As dawn broke on the day of the assault, Admiral Zarak stood on the bridge of the Eternal Claw, watching with cold satisfaction as the Worldbreaker powered up. Soon, he mused, this troublesome species will be nothing but a memory. But even as the Admiral gloated, Elena's team was making its approach. Using a combination of stolen Zarkin tech and good old-fashioned human ingenuity, they managed to slip past the outer defenses of the alien flagship. The battle that erupted across the globe was unlike anything in human history. In the skies over what was once London, British RAF pilots flew suicide missions against Zarkin cruisers. In the steppes of Russia, tanks engaged alien walkers in a deadly dance of metal and energy weapons. And high above it all, on the bridge of the Eternal Claw, Elena and her team fought their way towards the ship's central core. The quantum disruptor, humming with barely contained energy, was their only hope. As they neared their objective, they were confronted by none other than Commander Krazak. The Zarkin warrior, his massive frame filling the corridor, regarded the humans with a mixture of surprise and grudging respect. I must admit, he rumbled, you humans have proven more resilient than we expected, but your struggle ends here. Elena, her face set with determination, stepped forward. You're right about one thing, she said, activating the quantum disruptor. This struggle does end here, but not in the way you think. The device came to life with a high-pitched whine. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave rippling through reality itself, the quantum disruptor's effect spread outward. Krazak stumbled, his eyes widening in shock and pain. All around him, the ship's systems began to falter. Alarms blared as the carefully maintained quantum entanglement that powered Zarkin technology began to unravel. On the bridge, Admiral Zarak watched in horror as his mighty flagship began to fail around him. The Worldbreaker, moments away from firing, went dark. Across the globe, the effect was the same. Zarkin ships fell from the sky, their anti-gravity systems disabled. Energy weapons sputtered and died. And the Zarkin themselves, their enhanced biology, dependent on the same quantum principles, found themselves suddenly vulnerable. In that moment, the tide of the war shifted. Human forces, seizing the opportunity, pressed their advantage. Cities under alien occupation erupted in rebellion as the invaders' technological edge evaporated. As the Eternal Claw began to list in orbit, Elena turned to her team. Mission accomplished, she said with a grim smile. Now let's get the hell out of here. The retreat was chaotic, but Elena's team managed to fight their way to an escape pod. As they jettisoned away from the failing flagship, they watched as humanity's surviving air forces converged on the crippled Zarkin fleet. On the surface, the scene was one of jubilation mixed with disbelief. After weeks of hopeless struggle, victory suddenly seemed within grasp. But the war was far from over. The Zarkin, though stripped of their technological advantages, were still formidable opponents, and Admiral Zarak, his dreams of easy conquest shattered, now burned with a desire for revenge. As night fell on this pivotal day, both sides prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The Zarkan, reeling from their sudden reversal of fortune, began to regroup. And humanity, emboldened by their first major victory, steeled itself for the battles to come. The quantum disruptor had changed the game, but the struggle for Earth's future was far from decided. The coming days would test the limits of human resilience and ingenuity like never before. In hidden bunkers and makeshift command centers, leaders on both sides pondered their next moves. The fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. And as a new day dawned, the question on everyone's mind was, what happens next? The turning point. The days following the activation of the quantum disruptor were marked by chaos and rapid change. Across the globe, Zarkan forces found themselves in disarray, their once unassailable technological advantage neutralized. However, the alien invaders were far from defeated. Their physical prowess and military discipline still made them formidable opponents, and they quickly began to adapt to their new circumstances. Admiral Zorak, his flagship now a crippled hulk in low Earth orbit, seethed with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How? He roared at his assembled officers. How did these primitive humans manage to do this? Commander Krazak, still reeling from the effects of the quantum disruptor, stepped forward. Admiral, it appears the humans have developed a way to disrupt the quantum entanglement our technology and biology depend on. We are vulnerable. Zorak's eyes narrowed dangerously. Vulnerable, but not defeated. We are Zarkan. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We will not be undone by these upstart primates. With a sweep of his arm, Zorak brought up a holographic display of Earth. We may have lost our technological edge, but we still have numbers and strength on our side. Prepare for ground assault. We'll crush these humans with brute force if we must. As the Zarkan regrouped, humanity celebrated its first major victory. In cities around the world, people emerged from hiding to cheer the downing of alien ships and the retreat of occupation forces. But military and political leaders knew the war was far from over. In the makeshift UN headquarters, now located in a bunker beneath the ruins of Geneva, Sarah Chen addressed the assembled representatives of Earth's nations. The quantum disruptor has given us a fighting chance, she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. But the Zarkan are still a grave threat. We must press our advantage while we can. Colonel Lai Wei, freshly arrived from the Asian front, stepped forward. Our intel suggests the Zarkan are massing for a major ground offensive. They're abandoning their ships and consolidating their forces on the ground. Zhou Dubois, the Parisian resistance leader, now serving as France's military representative, nodded grimly. We've seen similar movements in Europe. They're going back to basics. Infantry, armored units, artillery. They may not have their energy weapons, but they're still incredibly dangerous. Sarah's face hardened with resolve. Then we meet them on the field of battle. Humanity has been fighting ground wars for millennia. This is our element. As both sides prepared for what promised to be a decisive confrontation, Dr. Eliza Reyes and her team worked feverishly to refine and mass-produce the quantum disruptor technology. The device that had turned the tide of the war was still a prototype, and they needed a more stable long-term solution to keep the Zarkan at bay. In a secret facility beneath the Australian outback, Eliza collaborated with Dr. Amadou Diallo on a new project. If we can adapt the quantum disruptor's effect into a deployable field, Amadou explained, pointing to a complex set of equations, we could create safe zones where Zarkan biology and tech simply won't function. Eliza's eyes lit up with excitement. A quantum nullification field. That could change everything. We could reclaim entire cities, create sanctuaries for civilians. Their work was interrupted by an urgent communication. Sarah Chen's face appeared on a nearby screen, her expression grave. Dr. Rice, we've intercepted Zarkan communications. They're planning a massive assault on multiple fronts. We need something to tip the scales in our favor, and we need it now. Eliza and Amadou exchanged a look. We might have something, Eliza replied cautiously. But it's untested, and the power requirements are enormous. Sarah nodded. Whatever it is, it's our best shot. I'm authorizing all resources to be diverted to your project. How soon can you have it ready? Amadou did some quick mental calculations. With round-the-clock work and unlimited resources, maybe a week. Sarah's face fell. The Zarkan will be on the move in 3 days. Eliza set her jaw determinedly. Then we'll have it ready in 3 days. Somehow. As Eliza and Amadou's team worked tirelessly on the quantum nullification field, the rest of humanity prepared for battle. In the plains of Central Asia, the largest concentration of human and Zarkan forces gathered for what promised to be the defining conflict of the war. Colonel Lai Wei, now promoted to general, stood atop a hill overlooking the vast army assembling before him. Tanks, artillery, and infantry from dozens of nations stood side by side, united against the common threat. In the distance, the massive forms of Zarkan war machines and troop formations could be seen on the horizon. Lai turned to his assembled officers, a mix of veteran commanders and young soldiers who had distinguished themselves in the resistance. The enemy we face is unlike any humanity has encountered before, he began, his voice carrying across the silent group. But neither have they faced anything like us. We are fighting for our homes, our families, our very existence. And we will not go quietly into the night. A cheer went up from the assembled soldiers, a roar of defiance that seemed to shake the very earth. As it faded, Lai continued, his voice solemn. Many of us will not see the end of this day, but our sacrifice will ensure that humanity has a future. For Earth. For Earth. The cry was taken up by thousands of voices, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of humanity in the face of overwhelming odds. As dawn broke on the third day, both armies surged forward. The clash was titanic, a meeting of two unstoppable forces. Zarkan warriors, even without their advanced weaponry, were terrifying opponents. Their strength and speed made them deadly in close combat, and their natural armor shrugged off all but the heaviest human weapons. But humanity fought with a desperation and ingenuity that took the Zarkan by surprise. Tactics developed over centuries of warfare on Earth were brought to bear against the alien invaders. Where the Zarkan had brute strength, humans countered with cunning and adaptability. In the skies above, what remained of Earth's air forces engaged in dogfights with Zarkan flyers. The alien craft, their anti-gravity systems offline, were now bound by the same laws of physics as human aircraft. It was here that humanity's long experience with aerial warfare began to tell. As the battle raged, news came from Australia. Eliza and Amadou's team had done the impossible. The quantum nullification field was ready for deployment. But there was a catch. The power requirements are immense, Eliza explained to Sarah Chen over a secure link. We can create a field large enough to cover the battlefield, but it will burn out almost immediately. We'll have one shot at this. Sarah nodded grimly. Then we make it count. General Lee, she said, turning to another screen showing the command center on the battlefield. Can you draw the Zarkan into a concentrated area? We need them as densely packed as possible. Lai, his uniform stained with dirt and blood, nodded. We'll need to fall back, make them think they're winning. It's risky, but it might work. The order was given. Across the battlefield, human forces began a fighting retreat, drawing the Zarkan into a vast, natural bowl in the landscape. The alien warriors, sensing victory, pressed forward eagerly. In Australia, Eliza and Amadou made their final preparations. The quantum nullification device, a massive construction of exotic materials and pulsing energy, hummed with barely contained power. All units, be advised. Sarah's voice crackled over the global command network. Operation Nullify is go. All forces, disengage and fall back immediately. As human forces rapidly retreated, the Zarkan found themselves alone in the center of the battlefield. Admiral Zerak, watching from a nearby hilltop, sensed a trap but couldn't fathom what the humans could possibly do to turn the tide now. In Australia, Elisa took a deep breath and pressed the activation switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a ripple in the fabric of reality, a wave of energy swept across the battlefield. Where it passed, Zarkan warriors stumbled and fell. Their augmented biology, stripped of its quantum-entangled enhancements, failed them. Muscles accustomed to incredible strength suddenly weakened. Senses home to superhuman levels dulled. The effect was devastating. In an instant, the mighty Zarkan army was reduced to a confused, vulnerable mass, and humanity, prepared for this moment, struck back with everything they had. Artillery rained down on the disoriented alien forces. Tanks and infantry surged forward, pressing their sudden advantage. In the skies, Earth's aircraft strafed the Zarkan positions relentlessly. Admiral Zerak watched in horror as his invincible army crumbled before his eyes. "Impossible," he muttered, unable to comprehend the sudden reversal. As the quantum nullification field faded, its energy spent, the damage was done. The Zarkan forces, caught in the open and stripped of their biological advantages, were routed. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the mighty Zarkan Empire faced total defeat. In the chaotic aftermath of the battle, Admiral Zerak was captured by a team led by Zoe Dubois, the Parisian resistance leader. Her face streaked with grime and victory, stood over the fallen alien leader. "Your war is over," she said simply. "Earth is not yours to conquer." As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted around the globe. Humanity, against all odds, had defended their home against the greatest threat they had ever faced. But even in this moment of triumph, challenges loomed. The Zarkan Empire spanned the galaxy. What would be the consequences of their defeat on Earth? And how would humanity, now aware of its place in a larger cosmic community, move forward? As the dust settled on the battlefield, Sarah Chen, Elisa Reyes, General Lai, and other leaders of the human resistance gathered to discuss the future. The war might be won, but the story of humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. The dawn of a new era was breaking, and with it came both incredible opportunities and daunting challenges. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, but the real test was yet to come. How would they handle the responsibilities and dangers that came with their newfound status as a spacefaring civilization? As the sun set on this historic day, the leaders of Earth looked to the stars with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would face it together, stronger and more united than ever before. A new galactic order, 2,000 words. The months following humanity's victory over the Zarkan were a whirlwind of activity and rapid change. As the dust settled on the battlefields of Earth, the full implications of the conflict began to emerge. Humanity, once isolated and unaware of its place in the cosmos, now found itself thrust onto the galactic stage. In the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in New York, now a symbol of Earth's resilience, representatives from every nation gathered to chart a course for humanity's future. The meeting was historic not just for its attendees, but for its special guests, a delegation of Zarkan, led by the captured Admiral Zerak. Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's first Secretary of Extraterrestrial Affairs, addressed the assembly. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice firm. "The war has ended, but our journey as a species is just beginning. The galaxy awaits, and we must decide how we will meet it." The debate that followed was intense. Some argued for isolation, for focusing on rebuilding Earth and developing defenses against future threats. Others pushed for rapid expansion into space, eager to claim humanity's place among the stars. In the end, a middle path was chosen. Earth would reach out to the galaxy, but cautiously. A program of controlled expansion and diplomacy would be implemented, with the goal of establishing humanity as a respected member of the galactic community. But first, there was the matter of the Zarkan to address. Admiral Zerak, his once imposing frame now diminished by the effects of the quantum nullification field, was brought before the assembly. Your empire has fallen, Sarah stated, facing the alien leader. Your forces on Earth have surrendered, and we've received transmissions from your homeworld indicating a full withdrawal from all conquered territories. What do you have to say for yourself? Xerox, his yellow eyes dulled but still defiant, spoke. For millennia, the Zarkan have been the apex predators of the galaxy. We thought your world would be another easy conquest. We were wrong. He paused, seeming to struggle with his next words. Humanity has proven itself worthy adversaries. Perhaps even worthy allies. A murmur ran through the assembly. The idea of allying with the very beings who had nearly destroyed Earth was shocking to many. But others saw the potential benefits of turning a former enemy into a powerful friend. After much debate, a decision was reached. The Zarkan Empire would be dismantled, but its people would not be destroyed. Instead, under close supervision from Earth and other liberated worlds, the Zarkan would begin the long process of rehabilitation. Their vast knowledge of the galaxy would be shared, helping to jumpstart humanity's expansion into space. As the galaxy reeled from the fall of the Zarkan Empire, other alien civilizations began to take notice of Earth. Diplomatic envoys arrived from distant stars, some seeking alliances, others merely curious about the species that had accomplished the impossible. Dr. Eliza Reyes, now heading Earth's new Xenoscience division, found herself at the forefront of these first contacts. Each new species we encounter reshapes our understanding of life in the universe, she explained to a rapt audience of scientists and diplomats. The diversity we're seeing is astounding, from silicon-based life forms to beings of pure energy. The quantum nullification technology that had won the war was now being adapted for peaceful purposes. Dr. Amadou Diallo led a team developing quantum communication devices that could transmit messages instantly across vast distances, revolutionizing interstellar communication. Meanwhile, Colonel Lai Wei, promoted to Fleet Admiral, oversaw the construction of Earth's first interstellar defense force. Utilizing a combination of reverse-engineered Zarkan technology and human innovation, the fleet was designed to protect Earth and its new colonies from any future threats. We must be prepared, Lai insisted during a military briefing. The galaxy is vast and largely unknown. While we hope for peace, we must be ready for any eventuality. As humanity took its first tentative steps into the galactic community, it faced numerous challenges. The ethical implications of faster-than-light travel, the potential for cultural contamination of less advanced civilizations, and the ever-present threat of conflict with other spacefaring races all weighed heavily on Earth's leaders. Sarah Chen found herself navigating increasingly complex diplomatic waters. In a historic meeting with the Galactic Council, a loose confederation of advanced species, she made humanity's case for recognition. We come before you not as conquerors, but as explorers and peacekeepers, Sarah declared to the assembled alien dignitaries. Earth has learned harsh lessons about the dangers of aggression and the value of cooperation. We seek to join you in building a more stable and prosperous galaxy for all. The response was mixed. Some council members welcomed humanity's fresh perspective and demonstrated adaptability. Others remained wary, concerned about the rapid rise of such a young species, but all agreed that humanity could no longer be ignored. Back on Earth, society was undergoing rapid changes as it adapted to its new reality. The influx of alien knowledge and technology sparked a renaissance in science and the arts. Universities offered courses in xenobiology and interstellar politics. Popular culture was revolutionized, with books, movies, and music exploring humanity's place in a vast and varied universe. Zoe Dubois, the former resistance leader, now served as a cultural attaché, helping to bridge the gap between human and alien societies. Understanding is the key to peace, she often said. We must learn to see beauty in diversity, to find common ground with beings whose very concept of existence might differ from our own. But not all was smooth sailing. Earth's rapid advancement and the dismantling of the Zarkan Empire had created a power vacuum in certain parts of the galaxy. Opportunistic species sought to fill this void, leading to conflicts that threatened to draw in human forces. Admiral Lee found himself commanding Earth's fleet in a series of peacekeeping missions, working alongside alien allies to stabilize volatile regions. These operations tested the limits of human diplomacy and military doctrine, forcing rapid adaptation and innovation. 5 years after the end of the Zarkin War, humanity had established colonies on a dozen worlds, made first contact with over 30 alien civilizations, and become a rising power in galactic politics. The quantum nullification technology, now refined and expanded, had revolutionized everything from medicine to space travel. But with this progress came new dangers. Not all species welcomed humanity's rapid ascension. There were whispers of ancient, slumbering powers stirring in the dark spaces between the stars, powers that might view the upstart humans as a threat to be eliminated. In a secure facility beneath the Martian surface, Sarah Chen met with Earth's top military and scientific leaders. The mood was tense as they reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "We've detected anomalous energy readings from the galactic core," Admiral Lai reported, his holographic image flickering slightly. "They don't match any known natural phenomenon or technological signature." Dr. Reyes, her face lined with concern, added, "There are references in multiple alien mythologies to ancient ones or cosmic architects dwelling near the galactic center. We always assumed they were legends, but now—" Sarah absorbed the information, her mind racing with the implications. "So we may have attracted the attention of beings far beyond our current understanding, beings that might not appreciate our sudden appearance on the galactic stage." The room fell silent as the weight of this possibility sank in. Humanity had overcome incredible odds to defeat the Zarkan and claim its place among the stars. But had they merely exchanged one threat for another, potentially far greater one? Admiral Lai broke the silence. "Whatever's out there, we'll face it the same way we faced the Zarkan. Together, with all the strength and ingenuity humanity can muster." Sarah nodded, a determined smile crossing her face. "Agreed. We've come too far to turn back now. Humanity's future lies among the stars, whatever challenges we may face." As the meeting concluded, Sarah stepped to a window overlooking the Martian landscape. The red planet, once a distant dream, was now home to millions of humans. In the sky above, ships from a dozen alien races moved in elegant patterns, a testament to the new era of cooperation. Yet even as she marveled at how far humanity had come, Sarah couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The galaxy was vast, ancient, and full of wonders, but also dangers beyond imagination. The war with the Zarkan had been humanity's first great test among the stars. She had a feeling it wouldn't be the last. As night fell on Mars, lights from the sprawling colonies twinkled like earthbound stars. In labs, command centers, and homes across 2 worlds, humanity continued its relentless push forward. Scientists unraveled the mysteries of the cosmos, diplomats forged alliances with alien races, and ordinary people dreamed of the incredible journey that lay ahead. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril, but one thing was clear: humanity's destiny now lay beyond the confines of their birth world. The stars had called, and Earth had answered. Whatever challenges awaited in the vast, uncharted reaches of space, humanity would face them with the same resilience, creativity, and indomitable spirit that had allowed them to triumph over the Zarkan. As Sarah turned from the window, her communicator chimed with an incoming message. New reports from the galactic core, more anomalies detected. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for whatever might come next. The next chapter in humanity's great cosmic adventure was about to begin. In the depths of space, unimaginably distant from Earth, something ancient stirred. Humanity's rise had not gone unnoticed, and the cosmic stage was set for events that would shape the destiny of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The story of humanity's struggle against the Zarkan was over. But in many ways, their true journey was just beginning.